Hey Pet Pro, this episode is sponsored by some incredible brands we personally use and love.
And their support helps keep the mics on, so you will hear more about them throughout the show.
Okay, let's talk SUPERZOO. We are coming in hot because Pet Shop Girls on Tour is officially happening.
Yeah! And we are launching season 3 with 2 epic events that you do not want to miss.
First up, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. is our Pet Shop Girls on Tour Vegas bus party.
Woo woo! And tickets are very limited, so if you want in, do not wait.
This bus party is sponsored by Aardvark Pet Products with drinks and swag provided by Framposs and Retail Smart Guys.
And yes, we are making a stop at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign for a photo op because obviously we had to make this iconic.
So if you want to ride with us, click the link in the show notes and reserve your spot now.
Then on Thursday at 2 p.m., come find us at the Aardvark Pet Products booth, number 3561, for your live Pet Shop Girls podcast recording and the launch of season 3, baby!
And right after that, we're throwing what might be the most epic booth party of SUPERZOO.
Yes, and huge paws up to our amazing sponsors that are making this party possible. The Honest Kitchen, Smack Pet Foods, and of course, Aardvark Pet Products.
This is where our indie insiders will get our now famous Pet Shop Girls goodie bag filled with brands that actually support independence.
Right, so here's the plan. Tuesday night, Vegas, bus party. You need a ticket to ride. Thursday afternoon, live podcast and season 3 launch party.
Check the Indie Insider private Facebook community for all the updates. Come celebrate with us, come hang with us, and come help us kick off season 3 the right way.
We cannot wait to see you at SUPERZOO.
Pet Shop Girls on Tour, baby! Let's go!
Did I just hear flip-flops? Is that Art from Aardvark?
Yeah, there are not a lot of people in this industry who genuinely care about independent pet retailers the way Art does, and not a whole lot who live in flip-flops.
Right? Okay, there really aren't. So I haven't known Art for more than 20 years like you have, but I'm sure glad you introduced him to me because it's rare to find a vendor who genuinely cares about indies the way Art does.
And that's what makes Aardvark different. We all know he offers a private label program, but even beyond that, Art goes the extra mile for his customers and even people who aren't his customers just to elevate the indie pet space.
I totally agree because that's exactly what I see. We all know that I cannot get Art stuff here in Canuckland, but he still tries to support me and my business any way that he can.
He sure does, and he's probably our number one fan of the Pet Shop Girls.
And that's a good thing because without Art, we wouldn't be able to connect as many indies as we have. And I don't see that changing anytime soon with Art's passion to help indies.
If you're looking to partner with a guy who truly cares about you and your business, go to aardvarkpetproducts.com.
And you can email Art directly at artn, as in Nancy, at aardvarkpet.com and use the code PetShopGirls to save a little extra on your first order.
The trade. Pet Shop Girls, unleash your power, let's make some waves.
Hey everybody, I'm Sherry.
And I'm Carly.
Welcome back to a very special episode of the Pet Shop Girls podcast. We've got a great guest today, right, Carly?
Absolutely, because before you know it, SUPERZOO is going to be here. It's the middle of May and you're thinking, I got time. And then all of a sudden it's going to be the middle of August and you're packing your bags and flying to SUPERZOO. And we want you to get the most out of it. So we have got Senior Vice President of the WPA, Mike Karsting, joining us today. And so Mike, for anybody who doesn't know who you are yet, everybody knows what SUPERZOO is, but people may not know who the WPA is or who you are.
Welcome to the show, Mike.
Oh, and welcome.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for having me on. I like it. We're getting right into it.
Yeah, forget the formalities. We're just going to get right into it. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, Mike, who you are, who the WPA is, what you're doing, and then we'll get into all the ways that our indies can maximize their Super Zoo experience.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Of course, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's my title, Mike Karsting, Senior Vice President of the WPA. For those of you that don't know what the WPA is, it's the association behind SuperZoo. So we're a not-for-profit association, and essentially we're a trade show organization, and all of the profits and proceeds from the trade shows that we produce, SuperZoo and Groom, go back into the industry. So we support a bunch of other associations. There's a lot of small associations that don't have the benefit of having a gigantic trade show like SuperZoo. So we support them. There's a bunch of good works, things like HABRI and NAIA and stuff like that. All the advocacy organizations like PAN and USR, NAIA, which I just said, et cetera, things like that are what those proceeds go back into. And so anything that can help the industry is what the WPA tries to do.
Nice. Nice. And how long have you been with the WPA?
I've been here for 6 years.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then that leads me to my next question, because I would love to know from your point of view, what makes this year's Super Zoo different or more meaningful than, say, a Super Zoo from 5 years ago?
There's a lot of great answers for that. I will tell you from the retailer, from the indie perspective, SuperZoo has changed to become a little bit more business oriented. So it's building your business, not just about finding what's new. That's the number one thing that happens at SuperZoo is finding what's new. But I think the retailers have really become more intentional on what they're doing on the show site. And that's kind of where we have turned our focus as well to make sure that retailers are having the best show possible at SuperZoo. I can tell you like some operational type things that have happened for SuperZoo in the last few years. And coming out of COVID, we really leaned into who's on the show versus trying to fill the place up with as many people as we could possibly get there to make the show look good.
Right.
We took a different tact, which was making sure the right people are there versus all the people are there. So SuperZoo is a melting pot for the industry. So we want everyone to come, but we want the right buyers to be there. And that's the most important thing for the exhibitors. They spend thousands and thousands of dollars on their exhibition and their setup there. We want to make sure that they're getting their money's worth as well. And then on the retailer side of it, we want to make sure that the aisles aren't filled with people who don't need to be there and who aren't there to do business. So
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah, because you want a well-attended show. Like as a show organizer, you want that well-attended show so that the vendors who have paid the money to have those booths feel like they get to talk to lots of people. But at the same time, you want those people to be those quality leads that actually have the ability to buy.
As a retailer myself, I love SuperZoo because I do run into like more groomers there and people in the veterinary industry, and I can network with a lot of different types of people from the pet industry at this show. So I do appreciate that.
So, okay, I'm thinking too, Mike, like we have a lot of retailers who listen to our show. And I'm wondering if you could describe kind of the state of what you think independent retail is heading into this Super Zoo. If you could describe it in one word, what would that be and why?
I think focus is probably the one word I would use. Things have changed and retailers are really focusing on what is important, being more intentional in their purchasing, being more mindful of margin and anything that goes into that, staff hours and customer experience, all of those things. But I think just focusing and not, expansion, being as large as possible, all those kinds of things are not at the forefront as they have been in years past. Now let's really focus on the business and do things better, maybe not bigger. Let's do things better. And I think that would be my one word, focus.
I love that. And
I love it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I feel like even in my own store, there is a renewed focus to be as lean and efficient as possible while still providing, you said the word better, intentional about what I'm bringing in to make sure that I have the product, the correct product lineup for my customers, but also doing it as efficiently and as cost effective as
Mhm.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
not,
Well, and what
focus is great.
and
not
whatever you
trying to.
focus on becomes a reality.
Yeah, for sure. Not trying to affect your business. You don't want to affect the experience of your customer, and that's how we feel about SuperZoo. We do a lot of things to make sure the experience for the retailer is best possible, and I'm sure that's what you do in your store. You want to make sure your customer has the best experience, but you're still mindful of overhead and costs and et cetera, et cetera.
Could we do something about the cost of water at SuperZoo, Mike?
Yeah.
That would improve my experience to not have to pay $8 for a bottle.
I think it's like a pendulum, right? Everything kind of swings one way and they figure out when they've gone too far and then it starts coming back the other way. And I think Las Vegas has figured that out, that maybe they went a little too far.
I hope so.
I've been seeing nothing but posts about resorts offering all inclusive things now and
Yeah.
deals on, especially if you're from California, you get tons of stuff because Vegas is just a short drive away. So you get tons of advertising about, hey, buy 2 nights and get a third one free, or
Yeah.
we're moving to an all-inclusive model at this resort, things like that. So I think they've kind of figured it out, like, oh, maybe we went too far.
Oh, yeah. They,
MGM, a great partner of ours, but I have to agree with you because
Yeah.
I have to buy that same bottle of water.
Yeah,
when
I know.
there. It's like, are you sure?
Well, and that's just it. Like, COVID obviously impacted the world. Vegas was not immune to that. But yeah, it was after COVID that I'm like, oh, Vegas is really trying to make up some ground here, right? Where you used to walk into a casino and they were throwing drinks in your face just because you were there. And now they're like, that'll be $27, please. And 27 US is like 100 Canadian.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Vegas is trying to make up ground. But I agree because I keep seeing those same videos about all the ways that Vegas is trying to attract us, all of us, back because they realized, oh, you can't go all in on the first hand.
Mhm.
You have to spread this out a little bit.
We have some things on SuperZoo website too to sort of help you in those things. There's
Interesting.
links on there about flights. So there's a couple airlines on there that you can get a deal on flying to Vegas. And then also there's a section in there about the MGM property. So Mandalay Bay is owned by MGM. So
Yep.
they have tons of resorts in the city.
Yeah,
But there's a bunch of things you can get discounts on just by showing your badge from the show.
cool.
Oh,
if
okay.
you can see a bunch of places. So anything you can imagine, from shows to restaurants to blah, blah, blah. But there's a bunch of things. So we're cognizant of that too. And so we make an effort to try to help people out as well as best we can.
Very cool.
I know this is, we weren't going to go here, but now I'm curious that you're talking about this. Do you guys feel like attendance has been impacted by maybe the cost of everything? Or is that something you're not seeing a decline in attendance?
Our attendance has been actually growing every year.
Okay,
It hasn't been
good.
growing by leaps and bounds. So I'm not talking crazy.
Yeah.
But we're seeing a steady increase in attendance. The only area where we saw a slight decline was last year. We saw a little decline in groomers, which was
Okay.
the first time that's ever happened at SuperZoo. But otherwise, like the retail buyers, like I said, when coming out of COVID, we changed up how we did our registration and probably upset a lot of people by kind of deleting the database coming out of COVID, and we made everyone reapply. So, hey, I've been coming for 25 years, but that story.
Yeah.
We understand. We're not saying you can't come. We're just want you to re-enter your information, that kind of thing. So, yeah, the buyer side of it, we're steady there. And
Good.
obviously, you can never have enough buyers on the show floor to make the exhibitors happy, and vice versa, make the more retailers on
Good.
the show floor. It's like-minded people for you guys to network with, et cetera, and mentorships and things like that. So we're always on the outlook to have more retailers there. And so that's our goal.
So a lot of our listeners have been to SuperZoo, but I think a lot haven't. And
Okay, Sherry,
several, this is
before
their
you go
first time.
there, yeah,
Yeah.
and listen, because it made me think, we think that everybody knows about SuperZoo. But I remember 2 years ago at SuperZoo when I think I was over at the MGM and I was coming back on the little tram to the Mandalay Bay or however I was doing it. Anyways, ended up being on the tram with these 3 people from BC. And they were just in Vegas just for vacation. And we started talking and I'm like, oh, BC, that's cool. What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. She says, oh, I own a boarding and kennel facility with retail. And I'm like, for dogs? And she's like, yes. I'm like, so are you here for SuperZoo? what's SuperZoo? She said. I'm like, what?
Oh my.
18 years. 18 years she had been in business, and she just by total fluke happened to be in Vegas during SuperZoo, but had no idea what. And I'm like, you need to go to SuperZoo. And so she went the next day because I ran into her again. And she went the next day and she registered and she was able to get in. But she had no idea. So even though, Sherry, we think everybody knows in our audience, probably
Exactly. Yeah.
there's lots of folks in the industry that still don't know about SuperZoo.
So my point on that was for the people who have not been, what would you say, Mike, is one of the biggest mistakes retailers make when attending SuperZoo, and what should they do instead?
I would say the biggest mistake is probably trying to do everything or not having a plan going in. I say that all the time is just have a plan going in. You can get the app a month ahead of time. I'm not exactly sure when it comes out, but it's usually about a month before the show. The app is live. You can go on the app and start favoriting some exhibitors that you want to see.
I love your app, by the way, because I think you can, once you pick the booths you want to see, you can categorize it by booth number, right?
Correct. Yeah.
That comes in handy because you're going to go by booth number, not by alphabetical order.
Right. Yeah. If you go by alphabetical order, you'd be hopscotching around the floor like a crazy person.
You won't get anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a plan is really the number one thing. So you want to plan out some things that you definitely want to see. You want to hit up the new product showcase as soon as possible in the show so that you can also discover those new things. And then now you add that to your plan. And then you really want to save some time so that to discover new things, because in those travels around the show, you are going to find new things or new people that you need to stop and talk to. And just based on the size of SuperZoo, you literally cannot stop at every booth and talk to every person. You have to have some sort of plan. And like I said, you need to leave some time in there because you got to discover some new things, but you also want to make sure you have time to attend a networking event or the Pet Shop Girls launch party or whatever that is. You got to build some of those things in there, because if you don't, you'll just you'll get caught up in the day, and next thing you know, it's like the whole day's gone. I heard
a stat, and maybe you can remember this. I heard a stat a few years ago that if you attended all 3 days for the entire time, and you actually tried to hit up each booth, you would only have like maybe 60 seconds at each booth.
Couldn't do it.
That's if you don't count the walking time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the SuperZoo is open literally for about 22 hours. And so that's like 1,300 minutes. And there's around 1,200 exhibitors. So you literally have a minute if you're going to try to do that. But we really try hard to curate the floor in areas. So there's a natural section, there's the new products that we really try to curate that so that if those are the things you're into, okay, now I can really focus on this on day one or what have you, and set up your plan so that you aren't trying to see 1,200 booths or 1,200 exhibitors. You'll never get it done. So we really try to do that. It's intentional, as I keep using that word, but that's why.
Okay, Pet Pros, I want to talk about something we've been using in my store that honestly changed how our team shows up with customers. We put our staff through Carly's Pet Nutrition Foundation course.
Yes, the exact training that I built for my own team. Because when I opened, I couldn't find anything that really taught nutrition in a practical, retail-friendly way.
I remember thinking, my team already knows a lot. But once we started the training, I realized how much deeper the training goes.
And that's because it's not brand-based training, it's principles. We dig into food types, processing, label reading, gut health, whole food supports, supplements, and how it all connects.
And it's taught in simple, customer language. That's what stood out to me. My team stopped sounding scripted and started sounding confident.
And that was my goal. I wanted my team to explain things the way that I do in real conversations.
And it worked. My average ticket increased, supplement sales grew, customers started trusting our recommendations faster.
That's because now your team understands the why, not just the what.
Exactly. Even when I'm not in the store, I know they can guide people properly. They're mentoring, not just selling, and not relying on me to answer all the nutrition questions.
Yeah. And that consistency and expertise from your team is what builds real customer trust.
If you're serious about being a health-focused store, this is one of the best investments you can make.
And you can find it at retailbrilliance.com. Click Browse Courses and search Pet Nutrition, or grab the direct link in our show notes.
Your team will feel the difference.
And your business will too. It's funny, the very first year that I was going to SuperZoo and had never been to a trade show that size, but I was looking at the number of booths, and I had organized many trade shows prior to that in my own world. Never at that size again. But I'm looking at it and I started doing the math, and I'm like, literally, there's 1,200 booths, there's 22 hours, oh boy. So part of my plan, and I was taking my store manager at the time. So part of my plan, I literally had little passports made up for SuperZoo that we could fill out and start doing our research ahead of time. And I know that I'm going to sound like a broken record for any of those who listen to us on a regular basis, but I'm going to say this again, because it's very helpful for when you are going, when you do that research ahead of time. As a Canadian, and I always joke that unless you walk into the booth draped in a maple leaf, you need to have that conversation first, because some brands that you talk to there may not ship to Canada, or they don't have distribution in Canada. So then you go and you waste a 20 or 30 or 40-minute conversation with a brand you can't even get. So that's important. So do your research ahead of time. That's why we started doing it. We started reaching out to the brands we were interested in, saying, do you ship to Canada? If they didn't, obviously we weren't going. But we also looked at all of the brands that were going to be there, the ones that we were interested in, and we started categorizing them. This is a must-see, this is a nice-to-see, and this is an if we have time. And so that's how we started categorizing the booths that we would try to hit. Because, yeah, you will never hit them. The very first year I went to the natural section, and I did the natural section. And then I went back and I did the natural section again. And I'm like, I don't know why everybody said SuperZoo was so big. Like, I just did this in a day. And then I walked out of the natural section. I'm like, oh, okay, I know.
I've only seen a third of the show. Now I have to get to work.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So now we've got the retailer. They're standing in the booth and they're talking to a brand. What are your recommendations for questions that they should be asking, kind of more than just like, what's your show special? What are those questions that really help retailers understand if this is a brand that aligns with their store's beliefs and something that they should look further into?
That's a great question. And actually, you brought up a point that I don't think about very often, but if you're an international attendee, do you ship to the country I came from? That's a great question to start things off, because as you said, if not, you don't want to, it's great to meet a new contact, but also you don't want to blow a whole bunch of time in a booth that you can't get any product from. But a bunch of things like currently that I would do, I would ask about their supply chain. Or if you buy this product today, are you going to be able to get some more? Do they have any data on their turn? Any sales data that they can share with you? How do they go about education at the store level? Can they help educate your staff on this product, especially if it's something new you're bringing in? All of those things. I think obviously right now maybe supply chain is a big one, and the sell-through data.
Both Sherry and I work with Retail Smart Guys, and one of the things that they've put together for folks that work with them is their vendor scorecards. So you can kind of talk to your existing brands, but I think when you get that information, you also know the questions, just like you're saying, Mike, to go in and talk to new brands about turn and margins and that kind of stuff. Again, just as a Canadian attending the show, not only do I ask them if they do ship to Canada, but oftentimes what I've noticed is even brands that I carry today, their show specials are exclusive to the US. So
I thought that was crazy. Like the first time, like I walked the show with you, Carly, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it apply everywhere?
Yeah. So now that I have the ear of the WPA, if you could tell the brands, because we've told the brands lots, like make it available to anybody. It is an international show, so make your specials available to the international buyers.
That's a great point. I'm going to write that down. I'm definitely going to take that to our marketing and sales team, because 15% of the attendees are international. Canada being number one, Mexico number two. All over Asia, you get a ton of people. South America, Europe. I mean, there's a ton of people, and if that's something holding them back from having a great experience, then we want to cross that hurdle.
And I would say that most of the brands that I carry have been really good about it, right? Like when I chat with them at SuperZoo and they're like, "Oh, the show specials for Americans only, but just get a hold of me after the show and I'll make sure you get it." But technically the show specials only for Americans, and I'm like, "But Canadians are allowed to come." So
I want to circle back to how you said the show is divided into certain areas. And if anybody that's been, they definitely see a demarcation line between the retail area and the grooming area. It's like a whole other show. Now, I'm a retailer that does have a grooming salon as well. So I do try to hit that area up. Sometimes I don't get to it, but yeah, it's like a whole other show. Now, I heard that there's some changes this year with the grooming area. Is the education still happening? What are the changes? Can you elaborate?
Absolutely. I'll give you a little bit of backstory first if we back up. And it's funny what you said about show within a show is that the groomers have so much passion and personality. You walk to that area and suddenly you do realize like, oh, I'm somewhere different. Things
Yes.
suddenly, right? So that's first and foremost. But just backing up a little bit, the reason SuperZoo in August in Las Vegas, we've always had a difficult time getting contestants for grooming contests because of the difficulty getting dogs into Las Vegas in August for all the obvious reasons. And then when you look at the actual numbers of competitors, it's around 150 people. So we have contests for 3+ days in the grooming section in the past, but it's really only 150 people who are entering all of those contests. So we're thinking about these ideas and we're walking the show all these years. And we host another show called Groomed that's in Atlanta that's just groomer only. But so one day it hit when we were at one of our own shows. We're walking the exhibits, and the booths that are most packed are the ones that are doing some sort of demo. They're doing presentation. They're doing something hands-on. They're doing something experiential and in their booth. And we're like, that's it. This is what we're going to do. So instead of doing the contest, which apply to really 150 people, we're going to do something that applies to the thousands of people that come to the show. We're going to do a stage. We're going to build essentially, if you've ever been to see Andis's booth or Wall or one of those kind of companies, they build a little demo area in their booth. We're going to copy that. We're going to put it on the big stage and we're going to give them all the bells and whistles up there. And then all we're going to do is put education things up there. So some of the bigger exhibitors are going to do demos on stuff. We're going to have influencers come and do products or whatever, have education up there. So that was the thing that kind of clicked for us. Like, let's do something that applies.
I love that because I have noticed that a small booth that is grooming a Bichon, like, has a huge crowd.
Right?
The groomers eat it up. Yeah. So that's a great idea.
We think so. It'll take a couple years to find out if it was, or did we make a giant mistake? But I think it does. And just even a little bit more backstory on it is that groomers buy more education passes than anyone else, any other category.
I've noticed. Yeah.
Even though there's way less of them than there are of retailers or distributors or exhibitors on the show floor, they buy the most education passes. And then something else that we just tried in our Atlanta show is we built a small room on the show floor right next to the spa. And we equipped this education room full spa. So it has a working tub, dryer, table, the whole 9 yards. And we are going to do some hands-on demo classes in there throughout the show as well. So more real small, like 30 seats in there. So it's real small audience, but like a whole day of tips and tricks. And you're hearing it.
Do they still need to buy their education passes?
Yes. So there's a bunch of different ways you can buy passes. You can buy a pass for the whole time. You can buy a pass for a certain day. You can buy a one-off pass for like a single education session that you really want to see, or you want to just buy a pass to one of these demos in that classroom. Now, the thing that happens on the stage inside the grooming section is free, just like a show floor talks would be over in the retail section, or emerging brands. We have a stage there as well where they do a bunch of pitch competitions and things like that. That's all free. So all the education like that on the stages in SuperZoo is free. I think if you don't take advantage of the education that happens in the days leading up to it, you're probably also making a bit of a mistake, because I think there's some great things that you could pick up from that education, and it doesn't interfere with your days on the show floor if you plan it ahead.
That's right.
Carly and I have applied to speak at SuperZoo a couple times.
Oh boy.
Maybe one day we can speak there.
Well, we both have. We both have.
Well, we've been on
have
panels. Yeah.
We've
but as
spoken. Yeah, yeah. Oh, but yes, not as the pet shop girls. But you know what? I like that though too, that we're taking into consideration the comfort of the animal, because as much as I love to see the dogs, and honestly, Sherry can tell you when I leave Super Zoo, 90% of the pictures I take are dogs. And then I forget that I should take pictures of products or people, but they're all dogs. But I always think that I'm like, oh my God, it's so hot here for them. Like, and then they're getting groomed and they're hot and they're getting blow dried and then they got to go outside into where it's even hotter and to try to go pee. And so I like that we're thinking about the welfare and the comfort of the furry guys too.
Absolutely.
Okay, we kind of touched on education, and I kind of want to go back there. If we're thinking about retailers, and you know the different education sessions that are going on, possibly the pet shop girls, but but what sessions do you think this year are kind of the ones that retailers should be prioritizing when they buy their education pack? Like what are you excited about seeing on the retail side for education?
Yeah, we revamped the education program itself a couple years back. We got a new director of education, and she came from a gigantic trade show, so she has some really good ideas about best practices and how this should work, et cetera. So that really helped us out, and she has just dove in headfirst into the pet industry, and she's learning everything she can, and it's been amazing. You wouldn't know that she didn't work here for the last 20 years when you talk to her now, because she just lives and breathes it, and she's done a great job. But I really think some of the topics that we talked about earlier are the things that you should seek out in the education classes when you're doing it. There's a bunch of things about being strategic in your buying, talks about margin, just there's classes for everyone. So if you're new to the industry or new to owning your own business, so you want to take something that's more a little bit on the just like business development side and making sure that my books are correct or those types of things, but all the way up to somebody that is going to give you some real advanced insight. And I think it's all those topics of digital marketing and customer service. And there's classes for all of those things. And then that's on the retail side. And then there's a whole nother track just for groomers as well. So there's 65, 70 classes in the days leading into SuperZoo.
And they start on the Tuesday.
Correct.
And so what you could do as an attendee of SuperZoo is go to the education sessions and then go on the Pet Shop Girls party bus on Tuesday night before the show starts.
See, again, we get back to making a plan.
Yeah.
So plan this. You go to education on Tuesday, so you can tell your boss that you
Yeah.
were there for. After hours, I did happen to go on this party bus, but
Yes.
during the day, I was a good student.
Exactly.
As long as we
Exactly.
promise to talk or at least say the word margin on the bus. I mean,
Oh, you know we will.
yeah,
Oh my
we will.
Okay. I want to pivot a little bit because several of our listeners and people that are in our Indie Insider Facebook group are brands and they exhibit. And I'd like to know, in your opinion, with conversations that you've had with exhibitors over the years, what separates brands that succeed long term from ones that disappear after one or two shows?
That's a great question. Yeah, there's a higher changeover or turnover in the smaller booths than we'd like, but I think that's just the nature of the beast. A lot of ideas are great, and some are great on paper, and then you get to implement and get it in front of a bunch of retailers, and maybe it didn't work as well as you thought. But I think for the exhibitors that have been there long term, I think more than ever the trade show is important because you're building that relationship. So with all the social media and AI and all these things now, being in person, meeting someone, hearing the story, finding out more about the person that you're talking to and their business and what their needs are. I think those are the things that really separate exhibitors, that they care. They want to find out about your business and want to find out how they could help you and what would work and those kind of things. But the companies that do the things we talked about, which is supply chain, do they have education to help you out in the store down the line? Like do they have data to back up all of these things that they're talking to you about? I think those are the businesses that do well. And we really lean on our sales department to push the exhibitors to have something educational or interactive in their booth. Something it's just not good enough anymore to set your booth up and put your product on the table and sit back and scroll your phone like you're going to have a terrible event, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to go the extra mile.
Yeah. I know that when you've said that twice now, and I keep thinking, I ask that question about training. Training is my background, and I always ask new products that I'm looking at, like, do you have training? I'm always trying to push them to retail.pet as well, which is like the premier platform for training. And if brands, it makes it so easy for retailers. And I think, like, Sherry and I have put together kind of our own checklist for identifying if a brand would be a good partner. And we talk about that. Do you have training? Because if the vendor rep on the floor does this amazing job of telling me how fantastic this product is, but I've also talked to 100 other people, when I get home, I may not remember everything that they said. And I need to be able to transfer that information over to my team so that they can tell the customers how awesome this product is. So training is a huge thing. And I think it's often, as it is in every company, training and advertising are the two things that get cut when money is tight, right? But if I don't know about your product, I cannot sell the benefits of it to a customer. So training is huge for brands who are thinking, how can I add more benefit to the retailer or to my end customer? It's the training piece.
Well, and in that vein, yeah, like sometimes it's hard. When I first started going to these big shows, it's you're really excited about something, but again, you've talked to 100 different brands, and by the time you get home, how do you keep that momentum going and transfer that excitement to your team? So, in your opinion, what should retailers do in the 2 weeks after SuperZoo to make sure the trip actually pays off?
I think it's taking some notes. So you're writing down a couple of things. You don't have to write down everything. As you said, Carl, you'll never remember everything that happened. But if you take a couple of points away from everything, I think this applies to the education sessions as well as the exhibitors and conversations you have on the show floor. Is just take some notes, or even if you just do voice notes in your phone or something, just a couple things to remind yourself about that great conversation or that great product that you wanted to circle back to afterwards. And then there's nothing wrong with you following up with the exhibitor as well versus the other way around. Like if there's something that you really are interested in or you have more questions, like follow up on things that you saw, or maybe you didn't have time to get all the information or have a long conversation with somebody, following up with them after the show and the weeks after the show. Like I'm sure the brand would love to hear from you. If you have questions about stuff, like why not?
Yeah. What I did last year actually is I created a fill out form that was specific for SuperZoo. And then, of course, I put that on my homepage. So it was one click for me. And I could take pictures or I could leave voice notes, and then it all populated into a spreadsheet. So all of my SuperZoo booth visits were in one spreadsheet. But the cool thing for me is, one, it was all in one spot. Two, I could then go home and sit down with my team and we could go through the spreadsheet. I could show them the pictures. We could listen to what I was so excited about, or even if I got the vendor to like say the words into my phone so that we know the things. And then it was all in one spreadsheet. And that worked well because I kept it all in one, what am I calling it? Location. Because if I tried to take notes with my hand, I should have been a doctor. I can't.
Well, that's why
home writing.
I like to travel with a buddy, and your buddy can be the note taker for you.
If I was your buddy note taker, Sherry, you still would not be able to read my notes. So
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I write things down and I'm not even sure what they say.
yeah, that is 100% me. I'm like, I have no idea what I was trying to say here. Hey, Pepro, have you outgrown your current POS system?
Are you looking for something more modern, more streamlined, and, dare we say, a sexy POS system?
Because if your system is clunky, outdated, or just not helping you grow, we need to tell you about the Pet Shop Girls Preferred Frampause Package.
That's right. We partnered with Frampause and negotiated this package specifically for independent pet retailers, and the savings are real.
Yeah, we're talking lower merchant fees, a better email package, and a hardware bundle worth over $2,500 and more.
So this is not just a prettier POS. This is a sophisticated system designed to help you grow smarter and save more.
If you want better tools, better support, and better rates that you did not have to negotiate, as well as a system that actually feels like it's built for where your business is going,
go to 2petshopgirls.com/Frampos. That's FRANPOS for more information and to book your discovery call.
That's 2petshopgirls.com/Franpause. And make sure you mention code PetShopGirls to score the savings that we've already negotiated for you.
Pet Shop Girls is a paid partner of Frampos.
I would say, and we kind of talked about this briefly, this would be from an indie perspective. And Sherry and I hear this all the time. I don't know if the WPA hears this. The influencers, I think, serve a purpose for brands and for the show and all of that. One thing that we've kind of talked about as indies is oftentimes we can't get to the booth because there's 19 influencers there.
And I want to jump in and define influencer, because technically me and Carly are influencers as well, but we are within the pet industry. We're talking about the influencers, or Carly, are you talking about the influencers that, they've got a couple thousand people on their Instagram page that is their dog page and they call themselves an influencer?
Well, and it's those, what I saw after Global in our Indie Insider group, which is a group of all independent pet pros, whether they're brands, distributors, manufacturers, retailers, dog walkers, groomers, vets, as long as they're independent, they can be in our group. And there was quite a bit of talk after Global about the number of influencers. But one thing that we came up with, which we thought, we don't want to alienate the influencers. We don't want to say they can't come because we think that they do serve a purpose. But we were talking about maybe like Friday, the last day of the show, is kind of the day where influencers can have that free reign, because as a buyer, and that's what we were hearing.
There were so many, and they were inhibiting business.
And
I think that is, you hit it right on the head there, Sherry, is that we've taken a completely different approach to it. Are the influencers in the industry? Of course, they're part of the ecosystem now. It cannot be ignored. So we absolutely take advantage of influencers. We work with a bunch of influencers. We employ a bunch of influencers for the show. Our marketing team vets them very tough, though. So we cap the number of influencers that are allowed on the show floor on the first 2 days of the event.
Good.
And that hasn't changed. These aren't new things, by the way, that just started today. This has been since coming out of COVID. So there's some specific requirements that influencers have to check off. They have to meet, and our marketing team is reviewing that stuff. So if you sign up to be an influencer and you agree to do these posts or whatever, you agree to do so many things and you're not doing them, then you won't get a badge. You get that pulled.
Yeah.
And then one thing that does happen, and just like you said, great minds think alike, I guess, is that if Friday is that we loosen up the restrictions a little bit on Friday and allow a few more. It's not free for all, and there are still some hurdles that you have to, some minimums that you have to make. But that's sort of the idea. Is it's twofold. A, it's putting the wrong people in the booth when you should be having a conversation about purchasing.
Yeah.
And an influencer is not doing that. But also, it's hurting the exhibitor. They're not making a sale when there might be an influencer or a content creator or whatever. I hate to pick on the influencers, but
you're
a really good job about not letting the people who aren't supposed to be there in the show. And you can
they were getting all the samples before even like a buyer like me could access the samples.
But I
appreciate that you guys have a better vetting process.
Exactly. And I think it's awesome that we talked about this, actually, even though we weren't going to, but here we are. But I think it is good that we talked about it, because I think on the other side of that, the buying side of that, it's good for us to know exactly what SUPERZOO, like the guardrails that SUPERZOO has in place to ensure that we still can do the business that we want to get done. Because without knowing that, everybody has their own perception, right? And I think that that's what I saw coming out of Global, is that there was a lot of chatter about how many influencers there were and how do we get business done. Even brands saying I couldn't talk to retailers because I had 6 influencers in my booth. So I
Yeah.
love that you guys are aware of that and addressing it. And I will attest to the fact that it is an extensive vetting process, because I have made the videos for SuperZoo and I have to indicate, and just like you said, Mike, I have to do all the things. And if I don't do things, I'm not meeting my obligation in that contract. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
and
it's
we've had influencers come and try to do nutty stuff on site, and we just don't. It's not. That's not what SuperZoo is for. Like, we don't
no,
ever take our eye off the ball. SuperZoo is for independent retail and exhibitors, manufacturers to come together. Like,
yes,
you're there to do business, build your business, those kinds of things. And hey, do we want it to be fun? Yeah, we go out of our way to make sure that SuperZoo is fun,
yeah,
but
yeah,
with some guardrails, like you said. Like,
yeah,
we will never veer off of the part of it's for independent retail.
yeah, yeah,
Speaking of business getting done, I noticed that there is a VIP access that you could apply for. Could you explain what that is?
Sure. So there's a lounge that's kind of hidden behind the SuperZoo or the WPA booth. It's right when you walk in, one of the main entrances there in Hall C. But it's a place for some larger buyers that can go and kind of get off the show floor, if you will. And then there's not a lot. There's probably about 6 or 8 meeting rooms within that lounge that they can reserve. So if you wanted to have a meeting and you didn't want to have it out in public and in the middle of a booth, and you wanted to kind of have a little bit of quiet time, but also making sure that we're attracting the largest buyers as well to be there, because quite frankly, some giant buyer from Hollywood Feed or Costco or somebody comes in and places a gigantic order at an exhibitor's, that makes their show. So we want to make sure that we're also taking care of those people as well. And again, not taking our eye off of independent retail. That's what makes the show.
yeah,
But we do have some perks built in for some of the other groups.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Okay, we have picked your brain a lot here, Mike. You've given us a lot of good details. What I'm wondering is if is there anything that we didn't talk about that we should have talked about that you would still like to talk about with regards to SuperZoo, or anything that our listeners should know?
I really would. One other topic is the networking part of SuperZoo, and I think that gets overlooked a lot. Is that the business that gets done on site is great, and that's what we really focus on that. But I think in your plan, allowing some time to attend some sort of networking thing, and it can be something really simple as a meetup with a smaller group at a lounge, or just allowing yourself a little bit of time to eat lunch in one of the lounges on the show floor, so that you start making conversation with somebody, and next thing you know, you've made a lifelong friend or contact that you use. I think the networking part of it, and that's kind of what makes the pet industry so great, is that everyone gets along so well, and there's so many cool people that everyone helps everyone. Like, it's one of the industries that just amazes me, is that if you have a store over here in Michigan and this guy has a store over here in Florida, and they're talking, they don't treat each other like competitors. They're trying to help. Right? I mean,
Yes.
oh, you know what? We did that too. We tried that once and it didn't work. Or, hey, you know what? That same problem happened to us, and here's what we did. Like, there's so many like great things that come from that networking.
Super Zoo? I mean, how is a somebody from Dallas going to meet somebody from Regina, Saskatchewan? Where else can they do it except for Super Zoo?
Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
mean, those networking conversations are always better on a bus. So, like,
Or,
obviously, it's going to
oh,
be on the Pet Shop Girls tour
oh,
bus.
on a bus, or maybe at a beach party on Thursday night.
On a
Yeah.
beach party. Yes,
It,
that is
it's a mini.
true.
We have just a retailer event on Wednesday night called Swingers. They have a mini golf thing inside Mandalay Bay, and only retailers are allowed in. So
I
Is
missed
it?
that last year, and I was wondering how you get so many people in that spot.
it's so much bigger than you think. It's
Really?
gigantic.
Okay.
It's like 3 floors. You
Is
walk in
it?
the door and you're like, holy smokes.
Is that new
Okay.
though? Because I only remember the beach party. Like, I
No, it
only,
was last year.
Yeah, last year was the first year.
last year was the first year. Okay, that's what I mean. I didn't hear about it before, because we would always go to like brand parties or whatever on the Wednesday. But yeah, okay, that's cool.
And it's early. It happens at 5
And
o'clock, so right after the
do we
show.
need to register for that?
Nope, just have a retailer badge. So that's the only people that
Great.
are in there are retailers. And the only brands we let in are the emerging brands. So there's about 80 of those brand new brands, right?
Nice.
And a sponsor. So you're not bombarded by a bunch of exhibitors trying to sell you something,
Yeah.
but you're there and you can get a bite to eat and something to drink, and it's only till 7 o'clock. So it's not an all night commitment. You can still go do a dinner with someone if that's what you need to do, or
Yeah.
go to a party or something afterwards. But I think it's a cool way to kind of unwind after the show and again, network, talk to
Yes.
some other retailers. You
Yes.
find all kinds of
Love it.
And I will just very quickly, I know Sherry's chomping at the bit because we're running out of time here, but I will very quickly, because you just brought up the emerging brands. And I think it was 1 or 2 years ago that I stumbled across the emerging brands section. So for anybody, even if you have been to SuperZoo or if you're going for the first time, make your way over to the emerging brands. There is some cool stuff in there. Last year, we found Totonics, super cool product. And now we've kind of established a bit of a relationship with Totonics. And I'm looking forward to seeing them again. But they were in the emerging brands. I never would have found them if I didn't stumble across the emerging brands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little different than new product showcases, just something new. So anybody on the show floor can put something into emerging brand or into a new product showcase. I'm sorry. So anyone can put something in new product showcase, but emerging brands are either brand new companies, never exhibited at SuperZoo. So we do a best job possible vetting them out, but it's
Yeah.
really new companies. So it's
Yeah.
usually a brand new idea.
Yeah.
Love
When
it. I
when
know.
you
That's
say
like my
anybody
favorite spot.
when you say anybody can put anything in the new product showcase, they still have to have a booth on the floor, or
Yeah.
anybody?
Yes.
Oh, they do.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody. They still have to have a booth. So it's any exhibitor. So I kind of always refer to it as a show within a show. There's 1,200 exhibitors. There's about that many new products in the
Yeah.
new product showcase.
Yeah.
So it's its own little circus over there.
Yeah, I know that's Sherry's favorite part of the circus, and she goes there first all the time.
It's so
Yep.
close. So when you hit new product showcase and then you just go north a little bit and it's right there.
And you're in the emerging
Yeah.
brands. Yes,
Yeah, you hit
perfect.
both those first thing, yeah. Okay, so how can our listeners find out more about SuperZoo? What's the website? What do they need to do? Any kind of contact info you'd like to plug?
Yeah, so you can find everything at superzoo.org. And that'll tell you everything to do about the trade show. And then if you have any other questions about the WPA and the good works that we do and any of that stuff, also WPA.org, WorldPetAssociation.org, any of those things, you'll find us on there. There's a lot of good information there, but all of our contact information is there as well if you want to get in touch with anybody at the WPA.
And definitely visit the SuperZoo site to check out the deals that SuperZoo has arranged for anybody coming to the show.
Yeah, for sure. Take
Yeah.
advantage of some savings where you can get it.
Okay, well,
Thank
we
you so
thank you.
much.
Yeah, very much,
Yeah.
Mike. You've spent a lot of time with us. We know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate the time that you've given us. And we are looking forward to seeing you at SuperZoo on the
Maybe
party
you'll be on the
bus.
party bus.
Yes, I look forward to I understand there's a competition on the party bus, so I'm looking forward to that.
There is a competition. Of course, there is.
I really appreciate
Oh,
you having me on. I've wanted to do this for a while, so thank you very much.
Awesome. Well,
thank
it's been
you.
great
Thank you so
having
much.
you. All right, Pet Pros. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye. Carly and I talk about retail smart guys a lot. And honestly, it's because we both work with them and we've both seen what happens when you actually know your numbers.
Yeah. Before I started working with Retail Smart Guys, I was only looking at the numbers that I wanted to see, not the numbers I should actually be keeping track of.
And that's exactly why we created the Pet Shop Girls Retail Smart Guys Success Package, and why we're so excited that you can get $1,200 off your first year.
So if you've been curious, this is such a good time to try it.
Because let's be honest, way too many retailers are working way too hard without really knowing what their numbers are trying to tell them. We were those retailers.
Yeah, were we ever. But now I have real support around improving my margins, increasing my cash flow, and actually knowing what's working, what's not, and how to make smarter decisions in my business moving forward.
It's not just reports you never look at again, it's actual guidance.
And you can only get the Pet Shop Girls Success Package by emailing jay@retailsmartguys.com. That's JAY@retailsmartguys.com.
And use the code PetShopGirls.
If you're serious about growing your store, this is one of those things that can genuinely change the way you do business. It sure has changed our businesses.
And side note, they also work with brands, not just stores. And just so everybody's clear, we don't talk about things unless we actually believe in them.
All right, Pet Pro, that's it for this week.
Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe.
Just hit all the buttons.
And if you want more, join us in the Indie Insider, our private Facebook group for pet pros.
Then you'll never miss the podcast that makes you sit, stay, and beg for more. The Pet Shop Girls.
Pet Shop Girls.
Did you know most impulse buys happen within 3 feet of your checkout?
So stock it smart.